Hello, everybody. This is Dana Shibley with the company Verifyle. Let's go ahead and get started with today's presentation. All of us here at Verifyle are very pleased about the partnership that we have in place with CPA Canada. And all of you as CPA Canada members should know that as a result of that partnership, you get access to a premium version of Verifyle Pro at no charge to you for the first 12 months, and then just $6 Canadian per month for each month after that. And you should know that what I'm going to be showing you today, there are actually people here in the States that are paying $49 per month in order to get the capabilities that we're offering to CPA Canada members. So it's a fantastic deal for all of you. And we hope that you'll see that value as we go through today's presentation. All right, so you get access to the full suite of capabilities inside of your Verifyle Pro system, including the ability to brand it as you would like, and also unlimited electronic signatures. In order to get access to your Verifyle Pro system, you can simply click on the link in recent emails that you received from CPA Canada, or just go to verifyle.com/CPA Canada and enter your member number there, okay, in order to get rolling. Again, go to verifyle.com/CPA Canada and then enter your member number in order to take advantage of this membership benefit and use Verifyle Pro. Okay, quick caveat here. I am not a CPA or an accounting or tax expert of any sort, but my goal today is to really show you some general sharing examples with respect to Verifyle to get you up and rolling with it as easily as possible. There are already professionals around the world using Verifyle for secure sharing purposes. Others are using it for secure storage purposes. Many use Verifyle for sharing sensitive information internally with colleagues. And then there are many professionals, especially in your field, who are using Verifyle exclusively for selectively sharing sensitive information back and forth with clients. And we'll go through a number of these different examples today. Okay, first of all, some quick background information about Verifyle. We are based in Silicon Valley, and we are led by Jack Smith, who is the individual who invented and co-founded the company Hotmail, which was many people's first experience with both email and the internet, and ultimately grew to about 500 million users. He also had lead roles with two successful digital security companies, Ironport and Proximex. Verifyle is all about making communication better. And we see two key aspects of communication. Those are security and productivity, neither of which should come at the expense of usability. And the reason we place such persistent emphasis on security is that we believe the near-term future of business will continue to be based upon organizations and professionals making that extra effort to protect and secure their own information and that of their constituents. So we believe there will be two types of professionals: those who make that extra effort to protect that information of their own and of their constituents, and those organizations and professionals who do not make that extra effort to protect that information. And protecting that information will be a key part of protecting those long-term trust relationship benefits that exist between professionals and clients. We want to make sure that all of our users fall on the positive side of that line. So you might be thinking to yourself, what exactly is Verifyle? Verifyle is ultra secure messaging and document sharing and storage all on a single screen, where in that single screen, for each situation that you're working on, whether that be a client engagement, project management, or any kind of sharing or storage of sensitive information, you can see exactly who has access to what information, and if and when any single individual has looked at or downloaded any single piece of information. So you always have a very heightened sense of situational awareness, not only in terms of what's happening on your side of the communication, but in terms of what's happening on the other side of that communication as well. So think of Verifyle as your all-in-one communication power tool, specifically designed for those situations that you have to be absolutely on top of, that must be well organized, and above all, private and secure. Now, in our secure single screen, we've incorporated the most powerful components of email, cloud file sharing, unlimited electronic signatures, and our patented encryption key management technology, Encrypt, which manages the interaction of 6 different encryption keys for each time that any single individual accesses any single piece of information inside of Verifyle. So each data element inside of Verifyle has been individually encrypted, such that even if somebody were to break past our encryption, which they won't, all they'd be able to access would be a single data element, and that's it. There's no potential for someone to break into Verifyle and scoop mass amounts of data to gain what we call bulk access, such as they have done with so many systems in both the public and private sectors. To name a few, Anthem to the tune of something like 80 million individuals' data files, and Equifax to the tune of something like 146 million individuals' data files. With Verifyle, there's no real incentive for a hacker to try and break in the first place, because there's not that potential for a large-scale return on that hacker's efforts. So this is a huge reduction in risk for anyone who uses Verifyle. In fact, we would say it's a real game changer in terms of your overall information risk profile. And again, people are using Verifyle for those situations that they really need to be absolutely on top of, and that must be private and secure. In that industry, that might be project management type situations, but probably more commonly, it's client engagement type situations, communications with clients. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the system now. As we go through the system, please do bear in mind that you'll be seeing this from my perspective, the perspective of a CPA. So I'll be Dana Shibley, the CPA, right? Dana Shibley, the accountant. And even though Verifyle is backed by all this encryption technology, all of this security, as users, we don't need to create any encryption keys, memorize any encryption keys, manage or share any encryption keys at all. It all happens automatically, completely behind the scenes for us. So let's go ahead, dive in, and take a look. All right. So all of you should now be able to see the sign-in screen for Verifyle. You can access this using any of the major browsers. It doesn't matter whether you're using a Mac, a PC, or a tablet computer. You're also welcome to use our handy mobile app if you would like. All right, so I'm going to click next here in order to sign in using my email address and password. And I have selected the option inside of Verifyle such that an authentication code is being requested of me. Now, this authentication code is the second factor of authentication on top of my password, right? And this code appears on my mobile device and changes every 30 seconds. Now, of course, the benefit of using such a code is that even if somebody does somehow get a hold of my password, they still won't be able to access my Verifyle system unless they also have my mobile device. All right, and by the way, I do have the option to click in this little box right here, which essentially tells Verifyle, hey, Verifyle, if you can see in the future that a sign-in attempt is occurring from the device that I'm using right now and the browser that I'm using right now, and the proper password is entered, then there's no need to ask for this additional authentication code. If that's not the case, then definitely ask for that authentication code. And you do have the option to have that authentication code texted to you if you would like. All right, so I'll go ahead and type in that authentication code. And now we are in Verifyle. You can see this is my account, Dana Shibley. I'm acting as the CPA, right? All right, 2 things you should notice right off the bat here. Number 1 is you can see the CPA Canada logo right up here at the top. Okay, you can swap that out for any logo of your choosing by simply clicking on your name at the top right, going into account settings, and adding your own logo. All right. The second thing is that there are 2 main areas inside of the Verifyle system. Okay, there is the Workspaces area that we're in right now, and we can see that exemplified by the fact that the Workspaces tab is highlighted. But let's start out first in the Contacts area. So I click on the Contacts tab, click, and here I can see all my contacts inside of Verifyle, any one of which I can click on at any time in order to open up a secure one-to-one communication with that person, like Abby Advisor right here. I've opened up a secure one-to-one private messages communication with Abby where I can type messages back and forth to Abby quite easily and click on the paperclip symbol in order to share documents with her securely, of course. So let's look at perhaps a more realistic situation. Let's start from scratch here. Let's say I meet a new person and this person's name is Christine Carson, and I want to immediately open up a secure one-to-one communication with her. All I need to do is click on the plus symbol in the Contact tab right here. So I click on it and add Christine's name and her email address like that, and click Add. And now you can see that Christine Carson's name has been added to my contacts list, and a one-to-one private messages communication has opened up between me and Christine Carson right here, right? So I'll type a message to Christine. All right. And I'll go ahead and click on the paperclip symbol to share a file with her. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share an annuity policy document with Christine just to get rolling here. Okay. So I click send. There we go. And now you can see that I've shared an annuity policy document with Christine in Verifyle. That information was all encrypted as it was pulled into Verifyle. And I can see the annuity policy document expanded on over here where I can do a number of things to it, but we'll take a look at that a little bit down the road. The main thing to have in your mind right now is that as I entered this information and it was encrypted as it was pulled in, Verifyle automatically sent an email alert to Christine Carson that lands in her regular old-fashioned email box and informs her that I, Dana Shibley, the CPA, using the secure system Verifyle, have placed an annuity policy document and also a private message for her securely inside of Verifyle. It's an email alert. It's letting her know that information is available for her inside of Verifyle. She can't actually access that information in that email itself because email is not secure. We don't want to be sending sensitive information back and forth via email. But she can click on the link in that email alert, which will bring her into Verifyle where she can create her own password and instantly access that information. And I will know the moment that she looks at the annuity policy document or downloads the annuity policy document. And those access instances will be logged for me to refer to anytime that I would like. All right, let's go ahead and see what this looks like from Christine's perspective. So I'm now going to sign in as Christine Carson. I would have received an email alert, or perhaps I was already inside of Verifyle. Christine Carson, right? Perhaps I was already inside of Verifyle and I first saw this internal alert here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click on this internal alert, and I, Christine Carson, can see that Dana Shibley, my CPA, is sharing with me this private message right here, along with an annuity policy document. And as I mentioned to you, if I either preview or download this document, it will send an alert to Dana, letting him know that I've looked at this document. Okay, so I'm going to type a message back to Dana. Thanks, Dana. Please bring my husband into this communication as well. All right. And this is the same interface Dana saw on his side, right? And I can click on the paperclip symbol if I would like right here in order to securely share a file back with Dana if I would like. But for right now, I'm just going to send this message to Dana. All right, so now I'm back in as Dana, and I can see the message that Christine has shared back with me, right? Okay, so that's the most basic thing that you can do inside of Verifyle, right? If you want to quickly be able to securely share information with somebody using Verifyle, benefiting from all the encryption that I spoke about, just click on the plus symbol right here, add their name and email address, and then you are rolling with communicating with that person. Okay, you can share files and messages back and forth with each other, and both you and that other person work from the same interface that you see right here. So for those clients of yours who have relatively simple communication needs back and forth with you, maybe just one or two documents and a few messages back and forth, you probably would be fine working with those clients completely out of the contacts area right here. Okay, you can request signatures from them and everything right out of the contacts area. However, there are some clients for whom you're going to want some deeper level communication capability. For example, I've already been tipped off that Christine Carson wants to bring her husband into the communication with me. And in my discussions with Christine, I came to find out that she owns property in another province. She's thinking about some estate planning issues, which are going to affect her taxes. And she also runs a business with two other individuals, her business partners, if you will. And she might want to get those two other individuals in communication with me so they all understand various tax and planning and financial ramifications and so forth. And she might also want to bring her estate planning attorney or lawyer. I think you use a different word in Canada, my apologies. But she might want to bring her estate planning attorney in with me on some estate planning issues. So I'm getting a sense from my client that not only are there potentially going to be multiple people I'm going to be communicating with in the orbit of Christine Carson, right? But there are also maybe multiple topics, estate planning, business financial planning, et cetera, et cetera. There might be multiple topics which would become threads of their own inside of Verifyle. And there might be different people involved in each of those threads and different documents and messages moving around and so on and so forth. In short, it looks highly likely that I'm going to have a need for these deeper level communications. Okay, and those are all things that are a tip off to me that I should go into the Workspaces area. So I'm going to click on the Workspaces tab. And here, I can see a number of workspaces that I've already created. These tend to be situations where there is a lot of information moving back and forth over a significant period of time. There are potentially multiple topics or threads in each of these workspaces and a number of different people involved, all right? These aren't just 1, 2, 3 steps and then the situation's wrapped up type of things. These are situations where there's deep communication going on. So I want such an environment to use to communicate with my new client, Christine Carson. So I want to create a workspace. How do I do that? I click on the plus symbol right here, and I'm going to call this workspace Client Christine Carson, just like that. All right. And there's the new workspace, Client Christine Carson. Okay. And the host is Dana Shibley. That's me, right? All right. Why am I the host? Because I just created this workspace and that makes me the host of it. And as the host, I am the person who is the conductor of this workspace. I'm very much large and in charge of what happens in this workspace. Specifically, this means that I'm the only person that can add people into this workspace and also remove them if I choose to do so. I'm also the only person who can add and take away topics, threads from this workspace if I would like. The other people that I bring into this workspace are going to be guests, and they will not have that level of capability. Okay, so I'm going to click into the workspace called Client Christine Carson. Click. Okay, I'm in. There you can see the title of the workspace at the top, Client Christine Carson, and there's no information in here. Why? Because I haven't added anything yet, but the Verifyle system is prompting me to add a guest. So I will do that. I'll click here to add a guest, and the first guest I'm going to add is Christine. So I'll do a search for her. There she is. I've added Christine Carson there, and the Verifyle system has recognized that I already began a private one-to-one communication with Christine Carson from the contacts area, the private messages, right? So it would be very convenient for me to continue to have access to that ongoing secure communication, even though I'm going to be now working inside of the broader workspace environment, okay? And the reason that we decided to create this workspace, Client Christine Carson, in the first place was so that we could take advantage of those deeper communication abilities in this workspace. And we'll start doing that by clicking on the plus symbol here right next to Workspace Threads. Okay, I'll click there. And now I'll create a workspace thread called Tax Planning. I'll create another workspace thread that I'll call estate planning. And I will create a third workspace thread that I'll call my reference material. Just like that. Okay, I've created 3 workspace threads in this workspace called Client Christine Carson. Okay, and let's first go into tax planning. As I click on it here, you can see that the tax planning workspace thread is brought front and center. No guests have access yet. That's why it's private. No guests have access yet because I haven't given any guests access. And how do I do that? This is how I do it. Okay, wherever you are in Verifyle, as you move your cursor around, you'll see gear icons pop up. Okay, so keep in mind this corny little jingle. When things are unclear, go to the gear. Okay, I want to give guests access to this workspace thread, so I'm going to go to the gear. I click on it, and I'm going to click Manage Permissions. This is what lets me give guests access to this workspace thread. I click here, and I'm going to give Christine Carson access, just like that. Now Christine Carson has access to the tax planning workspace thread. Okay, but I'm remembering that she wrote to me that she wanted to have her husband get access as well, and I know that she was referring to taxes. And remember, Christine Carson wrote that to me in the private messages communication. She wanted me to bring her husband into the communication, and I know that she was referring to taxes. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the tax planning workspace thread and click on the gear symbol, click on Manage Permissions, and I'm going to bring her husband in. Now, he's not going to be in my list of people here because I've never communicated with him before. So I'm going to add her husband. Let's say his name is Sammy Spouse. I'm adding his name and email address, just like that. There he is. All right, and there, I just added, so I now have Christine Carson and Sammy Spouse being able to access any information that goes into the tax planning workspace thread. So I'll type a message for them here. Let's do some tax planning. I'll click here to pull in some tax documents. Okay, take a few of these, and I can just drag and drop those in, by the way, like that. I'll now click Send. That encrypts all that information as it is pulled into Verifyle, right? Okay, and notice I can see the documents here, but I can also see them over here. And notice wherever I go, you see gear icons everywhere, right? And remember, when things are unclear, you go to the gear, because when you go to the gear, you'll see a number of options for things that you can do. Okay, all right, so I've filled in some information into this tax planning workspace thread that now me, Christine Carson, and Sammy Spouse can all communicate in. Let's go to another workspace thread, estate planning. So I click on it, that brings the estate planning workspace thread front and center. I want to give some guests access, so I'm going to go to the gear symbol, click on Manage Permissions, give both Christine and Sammy access, like that. But I recall that in a conversation with Christine, she asked me to bring her estate planning attorney in here. Okay, so I'm going to go over here, click on the gear symbol, and I'm going to bring in her estate planning attorney. That is Lisa, lawyer, say. Okay, so I bring in Lisa. There we go. So now Lisa lawyer's in here, and let's say this is my first time communicating with Lisa, so I type a little message to her, welcome Lisa, and then I'll pull in some estate planning documents. Okay, let's see here. How about if I pull in a business succession map and a life insurance policy, a living trust document, and last will and testament. Okay, so I'll pull those 4 documents in like that. So I type in welcome Lisa, and I'll also type in, let's do some estate planning. Okay, now I'll click send. That information is all encrypted as it's pulled into Verifyle. And now Christine, Lisa lawyer, and Sammy Spouse all have access to this information. And then the third workspace thread is my reference material. So I'll click on that, which brings it front and center. And I can see it's still private. No guests have access yet. Why? Because I haven't given any guests access. In fact, I'm not going to give any guests access. I just want this to be a place where I store information securely for my reference alone whenever I'm thinking about issues related to client Christine Carson, right? So I'll click on the paperclip symbol right here. And let's say that I pull in some documents, including asset list and how about cash flow report and budget forecast. All right, so I'll pull those documents in just like that. I click send. When I click send here, I'm not actually sending this information. I'm not sharing this information with anybody. I'm simply putting it into Verifyle. So I click send. And now you can see that those 3 documents exist in secure, encrypted storage, just like all the other documents that I put in Verifyle that happen to be shared with somebody else. But these documents are for my reference alone. But as you know, if in the future I decide, for example, that it's important to share these documents with a colleague of mine in my company, I could easily do that by going to the gear symbol, right? And giving access to a colleague in the future if that's something that makes sense to do. Okay, now what I have here, I set up these 3 different workspace threads, and for each of these workspace threads, there are different documents, different messaging, and different people who are getting access, right? But I control this all from the workspace for client Christine Carson, right? So effectively, each of these workspace threads functions as a dynamic subfolder within the broader framework of the workspace client Christine Carson. And again, I'm the only one who controls all of the permissions in terms of who gets access to information in these workspace threads. And with that control, I get the ability to give a customized, very selective view of Christine Carson's information to not only Christine, but other people who exist in her orbit, right? Okay. And as you probably already saw, I can click on any individual's name at any time to open up that secure one-to-one communication with that individual as well. Let's see what this looks like from Christine Carson's side. All right, so I'm now signing in as Christine Carson, the client, and I would have received an email alert that there's a new workspace, okay? Or if I was already inside of Verifyle, I first would have seen this internal alert, and I, the client Christine Carson, click on the workspace called Client Christine Carson, and what do I see? Okay, the host of this workspace is Dana, okay, and he's given me access to 2 workspace threads here, estate planning and tax planning. Okay, note that I, Christine Carson, don't see the workspace thread called My Reference Materials because Dana didn't give me access to that. In fact, there could be 5 other workspace threads that Dana is just using to communicate with his colleagues to kind of get clear on my situation before he presents me with that information in a polished, not rough format that he's using to communicate with his colleagues. And if Dana is really on the ball, when I sign in here as the client Christine Carson, I might see a workspace thread entitled Taxes 2022, Taxes 2021. If I'm in real estate or heavy equipment, there might be a workspace thread that's called Depreciation Schedule. If I'm making a lot of charitable contributions, there might be a workspace thread called Charitable Contributions, right? So that whenever I sign into Verifyle to see what my CPA, Dana, wants me to see, I'm not just seeing this scattered, uncorrelated flow of emails and email attachments. I'm seeing a handful or more workspace threads here with the appropriate information, documents, and messages in each of those workspace threads and the relevant people getting access, right, per my instructions to Dana, my CPA. Okay. Now, I know that some of your clients could care less about that, okay, but I'll bet that you all have some clients that would really appreciate that level of presentation and professionalism for them. Okay, back to what we're doing right here. So, as Christine Carson in the tax planning workspace thread, I can see a number of different tax documents that Dana is sharing with me, and I can clear the documents by clicking on them here, and I can also clear them by clicking on them over here as well. In the estate planning workspace thread, I can similarly go in and look at all that information here, okay? And let's say for the life insurance policy, I actually want to take a real look at it. So I click on the life insurance policy and then I click preview. I want to look at it. Okay. That just sent an email alert to Dana letting him know that I looked at that document. Okay. And similarly, if I decide to download the life insurance policy because I want to print it out and take a really good look at it tonight over dinner or something like that. Okay. So I just downloaded it and that sent an email alert to Dana letting him know that I've done that as well. So Dana now can see in his log on his side that there will be 2 instances of access of me accessing that life insurance policy document. Okay, and we'll see the importance of that in just a few minutes here. Okay, now the other thing is, let's just say that 6 months down the road and there might be hundreds of time and date stamped messages in here between me, the client, Christine Carson, and Dana, my CPA, and Lisa, lawyer, and Sammy, spouse, and there might be dozens and dozens of documents. And as I'm looking in here, it occurs to me, Christine Carson, that, you know what, Lisa, lawyer's not adding a lot of value here. She's very expensive, and it seems like everything she writes in here is very obvious. I don't want her to be involved in my estate planning anymore. I want her out of this thread. Can I remove her? No, I can't. Only the host of this workspace, Dana, can do that. So I can type a message to Dana right here saying, hey, Dana, get rid of this attorney or this lawyer. But that's a little bit blunt, right? Because Lisa would be able to see that. So I'd probably just go right up here to the private messages thread I have with Dana and type something like, get rid of Lisa, lawyer, right? Maybe not quite so blunt. Anyways, I type that message to Dana. Now let's see what this looks like from Dana's perspective. So I'm back in as Dana, the tax professional, right? And I can see the message from my client, Christine Carson, to get rid of Lisa, lawyer. And I know, oh, well, the only place in her communications, in my communications with Christine Carson, that there is a lawyer is in the estate planning workspace thread. So I'll go there. And what can I do? I see Lisa, lawyer has access, and I'll remove her access by clicking on the gear icon, clicking manage permissions, and removing her access just like that. Now Lisa, lawyer no longer has access to the hundreds of time and date stamped messages and dozens of documents that might be in here, right? And I get a phone call from Christine Carson. She's found a new estate planning attorney. She's sure this is the right person. So I go over here, click on the gear icon, click on manage permissions, and I'll add in that new estate planning attorney or barrister or lawyer, however you refer to such person in Canada, Lonnie, lawyer, okay? And I click save. And now I can see that Christine, Lonnie, lawyer, and Sammy, spouse now have access to all this information. So that's very powerful for me in about 20 seconds to switch that entire transcript of information about estate planning for client Christine Carson from one professional over to another professional. And that might be from employee A to employee B inside of my firm, right? But very, very convenient and powerful to be able to do that. Imagine trying to do that using email and email attachments. It would be darn near impossible, right? Very simple inside of Verifyle. Okay, and the other thing is that the life insurance policy for Christine Carson is actually quite complex. It's not a standard life insurance policy, and it has a lot of tax ramifications and so forth. I need to know who's looked at this document. So how do I do that? I go to the gear, click on it, and then I'm going to click on View Access History. And here I can see that for the life insurance policy, Sammy, spouse, hasn't looked at it yet, nor has Lonnie, lawyer. But Christine Carson has looked twice. And I can see the exact dates and times that she's looked at this particular document. Okay, now that's reflecting West Coast time, of course, because I'm on the West Coast and you're just seeing my screen right now. But if Christine Carson has looked at this document 22 times in the last few months or whatever, I would be able to see every single one of those access instances here, right? And that would be a really good tip off to me that here's an opportunity for me to add some value to my client and help her understand what some of the issues are with respect to this life insurance policy. Similarly, if I can see that Christine just looked at this document 15 minutes ago and I have a call scheduled with her in 20 minutes, what do I need to be on my toes about, right? She's likely to raise questions about this particular document, and I know it because I have some sense of what's happening on the other side of this communication. And similarly, regardless of where you're communicating with people inside of Verifyle, whether it's a one-to-one private messages communication or whether it's inside of a Workspace thread, you can click on anybody's name to see when they were last inside of the thread, even if they didn't add any information at all. So I can see Lonnie Lawyer hasn't even been in this thread yet, right? That's okay. I just gave him access about 5 minutes ago. And I can see the exact date and time that Christine Carson was last inside of this thread. At a minimum, perhaps giving me some sense of the recency of this information in Christine's mind. So all of this really helps heighten my situational awareness in terms of what's happening on the other side of my communication with my client, as opposed to just sending it into the void. I haven't heard anything back in 2 weeks, and I'm wondering what's going on. Does this person no longer want to work with me anymore, or what, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so moving forward here, signatures are very important in your industry. So let's go ahead and let's do some electronic signatures here. I'm now in the tax planning workspace thread. I'll type a message here. I'm going to start abbreviating a few things here to be mindful of timing. Please sign this document. Okay, I'm going to click on the paperclip symbol here, and let's say that I pull in an engagement letter. Okay, so I pull in the engagement letter, and for the engagement letter, as you know, if I click send, it's simply going to share this engagement letter with Christine Carson and Sammy Spouse. But I want signatures from Christine and Sammy Spouse. So what do? Before I click send, I'm going to first click in the box right here to request signing, and then I click send. Okay, so who do I want to sign this engagement letter? I want both Sammy Spouse and Christine Carson to sign it. And in fact, I want Christine Carson to sign first. All right, so I'll go ahead and click next. And for each of the signers, Christine and Sammy, I need to answer some questions. So for Christine Carson, do I want to require the signer, Christine, to agree to these terms below? Okay. And by the way, you can change these terms to be whatever you would like them to be. All right. And you can set those terms as default if you would like. I do want her to agree to these terms. And yes, I do want Christine to input a one-time signature code as part of the verification process for signing this document. So I'm going to go ahead and put in what I know to be the mobile phone number at which she can receive this code. All right. So I click next. Okay, and now for the other signer, Sammy Spouse. Yes, I do want to require him to agree to these terms below. And yes, I do want to require him to input a one-time signature code. So I'll go ahead and put in what I know to be the mobile phone number at which he can receive the one-time signature code by text. So I'll click here. Okay, and here's the engagement letter. I'll increase its size just a little bit to make it easier to work with. And for Christine Carson, I'm going to scroll down, move my mouse, which moves this cursor on my screen, and I'll draw a box right here where I want Christine's signature to go. And I can click in the box and inform Verifyle as to what information I want to go into this particular box: initials, date, custom field, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And for this box right here, I want it to be the date in that format. Okay. And so then I click next signer. For the next signer, Sammy Spouse, I'm going to draw a box right here for signature. And let's say for this box right here, I want it to be initials that go in here. Okay. And by the way, I can create a template for any other client situations where I need them to sign this engagement letter. Let's say I've got 400 other client situations where I need an engagement letter signed. Okay. So I could go ahead and create a template here that I call engagement letter for couples, right? That way, in the future, if I have other couples that I need an engagement letter from, I don't have to go in and draw 4 different boxes each time. I would just refer to the engagement letter for couples template, right? And if it's a single, for those situations, I would create engagement letter for single, something to that effect, right? Okay. Anyways, let's move forward here. I'm going to click Finish Request and Submit Request. And I can see here now that the engagement letter has been sent to Christine. Christine has been notified that an engagement letter awaits her signature inside of Verifyle, right? She received an email alert to that effect. And let's go ahead and sign in now as Christine Carson. Okay, so I'm now Christine Carson, the client, and inside of Verifyle here, I can see an alert to review and sign the engagement letter. So as Christine, I go ahead and click here, and I click yes to agree to do business electronically. If I click no, I will not be allowed to proceed and sign. So I click yes right here, and the person who's requesting my signature wants to send me a signature code as part of the verification process here. So I need to agree to have the signature code sent to me. So I click here to send signature code. And then I, Christine Carson, the client, I look on my mobile phone to get that one-time signature code. And I can see that code here, and I now type it in. And click submit. Okay, and I confirm my signature and initials here. And now inside of the actual document itself, I will confirm where Dana has asked me to sign. And I will confirm that the date can go here. Okay, as Dana requested of me. So now I can see that I have signed the engagement letter document. Okay, and now let's see what this looks like from Dana's perspective. So I'm back in as Dana, the tax professional, the CPA, and I can see that Christine has signed the engagement letter. I can take a look at that actual engagement letter to see that signature by either clicking here or clicking over here. So I'll click over here and I'll just click preview to take a look. I will scroll down, and now I can see that Christine has signed here per my request and dated here per my request. And I also can, anytime that I would like, click on the gear icon right here and click on view signing info to see the full document signing audit report with all the metadata associated with me requesting the signature from Christine Carson and the metadata associated with Christine Carson having signed the document, including her passing the SMS verification process and agreeing to do business electronically, and also capture of her IP address. Now, we're not going to go through this same process now for her spouse, Sammy's spouse, but as soon as Christine signed this document, Sammy's spouse was alerted that he needed to sign this document. And once he does so, then his information would be added to this document signing audit report as well. And anytime that I would like, I can click right here in order to print out a PDF soft copy of this document signing audit report or print out a paper hard copy anytime that I would like. Okay, so that's electronic signatures inside of Verifyle. And you should know that inside of Verifyle, you also get unlimited editing capability in the form of being able to click on any document, click preview, then you can click on the pencil icon right here, okay? And then you have the ability to change the order of pages in any document. Click on the X to delete pages in any document. You can also click on add annotation in order to annotate documents that you have inside of Verifyle. Okay, like that. And you also have the ability to merge multiple documents into a single document as you would like. I would imagine that some of you are paying money to do some of those things right now. Okay, so those are some of the things that you can do inside of Verifyle. And something I want to point to real quickly here that in some sense is obvious, but it's very important to single out, and that is that one of the reasons, at least here in the States, that Verifyle is so popular, we're working with the 4 largest tax associations in the country and numerous national and state organizations. If you talk to people who recently started using Verifyle, they'll probably tell you it's because of the security that I talked to you about at the beginning of today's presentation. But if you talk to people who've been using Verifyle for a few months or more, the ease of use that their clients experience in using Verifyle. And they'll tell you it's the productivity benefits they get as well. And a lot of those productivity benefits stem from this workspace environment that we kind of built out right here, where you can see all the key people involved in client Christine Carson's world and the key topics laid out here if you've labeled it well. And you can also easily access the documents. So you can easily see the interrelationship between the people, the topics, and the documents and the messages, and kind of help make that information not scattered all over the place, but more tangible and concrete in the workspace environment here. And that allows you to elevate your thinking beyond, I need to do task A, task B, task C, to think more strategically, more holistically about how to move the situation forward. In the part of the world that we're in here in Silicon Valley, there are a ton of software companies, and many of them have the mistaken idea that great software is characterized by lots of different modules and so on and so forth. But nothing could be farther from the truth, because the reality is that great software is really software that's characterized by allowing you to understand more while looking at less, right? And it allows you to accomplish more while doing less. And the Verifyle Workspace environment really lets you do that. It also serves as a wonderful digital cue card. So let's say, for example, if you're on your home screen inside of Verifyle, and suddenly you get a phone call from a client of yours that you haven't talked to in 2 months, right? And in that interim, you've had 2,000 other discussions with other clients. And that client who just called you instantly starts talking about a rarely referenced tax law and a rarely used document, and expects you to immediately be able to add value to that conversation. It sure is nice that you can click on the workspace that you have for that particular client and instantly see all the key people involved and the key topics, and wrap your head around all the information related to that client, so you can quickly snap your head back to that place where you need to be able to deliver value for that particular client, as opposed to stumbling. So what was that document again? Let's see. Just give me a moment. Can I call you back? Et cetera, et cetera. So Verifyle is very helpful in that regard, no doubt. Okay, and the other thing that you should know is that when you work in Verifyle, if you have simpler clients, you should feel comfortable working with those clients right out of the contacts area and sharing information back and forth with them, requesting signatures from them, et cetera, et cetera. But for those clients with whom you have deeper communication needs, you definitely want to be working with those clients in a workspace environment. And think in terms of a single workspace for each of those types of clients. Don't put multiple clients inside of a single workspace. Some people think that's a nice little shortcut they figured out, but once you start building out multiple threads in there and so forth, you will very quickly end up tearing your hair out. It will get very confusing. So think in terms of a single, deep communication client for each workspace. Okay, moving ahead here. Okay, I do want to show you at least one workspace here that I've created in advance to drive home some key concepts. Let's take a look at the Rockefeller family workspace. Let's say this is a family for whom I'm doing significant work. They have assets in another province, maybe even out of the country. They have multiple business interests. They're thinking about estate planning issues, et cetera, et cetera. They have a lot going on. Okay, so I click on this workspace for the Rockefeller family. And let's say that my key contact is Ricky Rockefeller. And for Ricky Rockefeller, I've set up a number of different workspace threads, including tax considerations and estate planning, legal requirements, cash flows, et cetera, et cetera. And for each of these workspace threads, I'm making sure that different people in Ricky Rockefeller's world get access to different information, right? And as you can imagine, there are a number of people in Ricky Rockefeller's world who are quite interested in his life insurance policy, his last will and testament, and his asset list, including immediate and extended family members of his, like Rhonda Rockefeller and Susie's stepsister, and also people in his professional network, including Ed Executive, his business partner, Larry Lenderbank, his banker, and Arnold Advisor, his financial advisor. Now, of course, I'm going to be a top-notch CPA for Ricky Rockefeller, helping him in every way possible to be a phenomenal CPA. But above and beyond that, there's a fantastic opportunity here for me to also step up and become a professional steward of his information on a need-to-know basis with confirmation of access and in close communication with Ricky Rockefeller right? I can become a professional steward of his information out to the people in his family and professional network, right? On a need to know basis in close consultation with Ricky Rockefeller, right? How sticky of a position is that for me to be in that place with Ricky Rockefeller, providing value to him above and beyond what he might expect of me. And how many business leads might that lead to when other people in his professional network or in his family come to see the level of professionalism with which I handle this sensitive information? Okay. So this is a great way to put yourself in a very sticky position with your clients and also help yourself in terms of generating potential business for the future. This is probably also where some of you are thinking to yourself, hey, software guy, just stop pretending like you're a CPA and just stay focused on showing us the functionality of your system. But my view of the world, also as a professional services provider like yourself, also as other professional services providers like finance professionals and attorneys, et cetera, insurance providers and so forth, as professional services providers, we don't really have a physical, tangible product. Our industries are characterized by information, laws, and relationships. And these industries are going to change fast. And so we have to be highly competitive and understand how to use these relationships to add value wherever we can and to build our businesses. So that's my 2 cents from my perspective of the world. All right, so I'm back home here. You should all be aware of this issue. I'll go ahead and hit this question on the head as it comes up. In the Workspaces area, at any time, you can click on this little sort tab over here on the right to sort your workspaces by workspace name, alphabetical or updated date, or what I like to call recency, as you would like. Similarly, when you're in the Contacts tab, you can go to the Sort tab over here, and you can choose to organize all those contacts of yours by alphabetical first name, alphabetical last name, of course, or by updated date or recency. I always like to keep my information sorted by recency, but that's an important functionality in Verifyle that you should know about. You should also be aware of the fact that in Verifyle, as you know, you can anytime click on the plus symbol right here. You can type in people's names and email addresses, and that adds them to your contacts list. But you can also bulk import contacts using the CSV file format, which is a standard file format that software companies use to export and import contact information. And if you do that, it'll automatically fill in your whole contacts area right here. So you can just click on someone's name to quickly open up a secure one-to-one communication with that person, right? Without having to think each time about, okay, how do you spell their last name and adding in their email address and so on and so forth. And of course, it makes building out Workspaces much more quick as well. Okay, so if you want to use the CSV file format to bulk import contacts, go to youtube.com where the videos are, right? And type in Verifyle contacts, and there you will see a brief tutorial video that shows you how to do it. If for some reason you need help with that, just email us at support@verifyle.com. Okay, the other thing I wanted to show all of you is at any time you can click on your name at the top right, and then go into account settings, and then it is there that you can change your name, you can change your email address, you can change your digital signature, you can swap out the CPA Canada logo for any logo of your choosing. And it is here that you can also get access to the public upload page and the ability to invoice and request payments from clients. We're going to come back to these in just a second, okay? And by the way, these are things that people stateside, they're all paying for. We have people paying us up to $49 a month to get these extra capabilities here. We're going to come back to these in just a second because they merit a little bit of deeper explanation. But you should know, here you can see how much of your CelluCrypt encrypted storage that you've used. I've used 20 megs of 250 gigs of my allotted space. So that's a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of 1%. I don't expect any of you to go over that allotment. Okay, automatically send alerts. I've left that at the default setting of on. I recommend you all do the same. Leave that there. This is what makes it so that whenever you add information into Verifyle, it automatically sends an email alert to the intended recipients of that information. Document activity alerts. If you leave that on, this is what enables you to receive email alerts letting you know that documents have been looked at or downloaded by people that you shared them with, okay? If you turn that off, you'll still be able to see the internal logs of that having occurred, but you won't receive those email alerts to that effect. Message edit is at the default setting of on. If you click here, you can turn off message editing for those workspaces in which you are the host, okay? Block list, blocking someone in Verifyle is not bad. It simply makes it so that when that person shares information with you in Verifyle, you won't receive the email alert, although you will still see the internal alert in Verifyle. Right now, the only languages we have are English, French, and Spanish. Those languages will increase. Security settings, you can change your password here. Session management, I recommend you all go in here, click on session management. And here you'll see if you have any sessions open on other browsers or on other devices, and you can log out of those sessions. But most importantly, in my opinion, is that you can click on this little slider right here to indicate to Verifyle the amount of time after which, if you have become inactive in your Verifyle system, that the Verifyle system should automatically log you out, okay? I like to keep it at about an hour or two, okay? And this is very useful for those of you who might sometimes forget to sign out of your Verifyle system. I recommend you all come in here and set this at the level that you're comfortable with. Two-factor authentication is active. That is the authenticator that I use on my phone that changes every 30 seconds. An easier one to set up is if you use two-factor authentication in the form of having that text code sent to you, in addition to you adding your password when you sign in, okay? All right, so we're going to move ahead here. We said that we need to go to the public upload page and invoicing and payment. Okay, public upload page. The public upload page is a custom web page that you get at no charge. You also get the ability to invoice and receive payments at no charge, okay? The public upload page is a custom web page that carries your logo as well as a custom message from you, and anybody can use it to securely share information with you from that page, okay? Along with this page, you get the ability to create what we call a handle. So for example, I might choose the handle of Taxes by Dana, as long as nobody has taken that handle. And that handle also serves as a link, which you can put in your email signature and also on your web page that anybody, literally anybody, can click on in order to share information with you that ends up in your Verifyle system, okay? If you click here and then click right here, you can see a mini video that tells you more about the public upload page. Okay, I recommend you all take a look at that. Okay, with regard to invoicing and requesting payments via Verifyle, if you click here, you can watch a video about that. There's a little setup process, and then you will be rolling with being able to invoice and receive payments from your clients. Okay, and again, you get this at no charge at all for your first year, your first 12 months of using Verifyle, and then $6 Canadian per month subsequent to that. This is all due to the partnership between Verifyle and CPA Canada. Okay. Let's see if there are any questions that I might not have addressed. All right. I do see some questions here related to some of the basics that I talked about, but maybe I didn't explain them clearly enough. So first of all, there's no file size limit in Verifyle. So you get a lot of encrypted storage space. So effectively, your file size limit is dependent upon how good your bandwidth is where you are. Okay. The other thing is that when you put information inside of Verifyle, you should think to yourself that it remains inside of Verifyle. There's no automatic timeout period or anything like that. Okay. Let's look at the workspace that we created. So there are some exceptions to that rule with a workspace that you have created, that you host. Okay, so I created the workspace client Christine Carson. So if I click into this workspace, I have the ability, because I am the host of this workspace, Only I have the ability to go into a workspace thread, for example, like estate planning, and I can click on the gear icon and I can delete this workspace thread, just like that. I'm the only one who can do this, right? Because I'm the host of everything in this workspace. So now that workspace thread for estate planning is gone. Nobody has access to it anymore. I can also go ahead and remove people from the list of guests here. Only I can do this, of course, because I'm the host. So I'll click on Lisa Lawyer's name because she's no longer the active lawyer involved with anything with my client, Christine Carson. So I'll click on the gear icon and I remove this guest, Lisa Lawyer. Just like that, Lisa Lawyer is gone. And yes, I can go to my home screen here and I can delete a workspace as well if I would like. Only I can do this, right? As the host of the workspace. So deleting a workspace is a two-step process. So I can click on the gear icon right here and watch this. First, I'm going to archive the workspace, right? So I click archive workspace and now the client Christine Carson workspace is gone from the active colored workspace area. But if I click archive, I can see the grayed out client Christine Carson archived workspace here. Okay. By the way, if somebody adds new information to this workspace, it'll automatically get kicked back up into the colored active workspace area. Okay. So I'll click on the gear icon right here. I can manually unarchive this workspace to bring it back up here to the active colored workspace area. Or if I still want to delete it, yes, I can delete it by clicking right here to delete workspace and then clicking OK. And now you can see that the client Christine Carson workspace is completely gone. Okay. All right. Hopefully all of you feel like you have gotten some good value from this presentation today. Remember that all you need to do in order to access this information is go to verifyle.com/CPA Canada and add in your membership number there in order to get this. It's really a phenomenal deal. There are people paying $49 a month for all the things that I just showed you guys today. And so you get it free for a year, and then you get it for $6 Canadian per month after that. All right, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email us at support@verifyle.com. Thank you, everybody.